Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I do my tumblers in a Cricut Mug Press. Super easy. I don't have any issues. So I just wanted to show you guys how I do it step by step. I already trimmed down my image, so it should fit. So I'm just holding it as tight as I possibly can. And pulling as tight as I possibly can. When I tape this, I'm pulling super tight and I'm really getting in there with my nail to get that seam down. And when I first started, the first few that I did, I was literally putting like 20 pieces of tape across here. But I started putting less pieces just to see what would happen. And it still turned out fine. So maybe I was just overdoing it in the beginning. But who wants to take all that time taping up a cup just for the seams to not come out right? That's a pain in the ass. So I figured the more the merrier. Okay. So just like that. And now what I'm going to do, and you want to go, see how the overlap goes this way? So you want your tape to go that way also. You don't want to go against the overlap. And I just pulled tight and wrapped it all the way around. Now I'm going to just make sure that's nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. And then you want to do the same thing to the bottom. Okay. Now we're going to put one long one all the way down. I'm going to turn you guys a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. We're going to attach it to the bottom and then line it up with the seam. Push on it Make sure it's nice and flat, and then pull as tight as you can and bend it over inside the cup. And now I usually run my finger up and down. I run my fingernail up and down several times. Now I'm going to do one more round around the top and get these little flaps down too. And I just put enough so that there's an overlap and I can just bend it over. I fold it inside to make sure no air can get inside and cause ghosting. And same with the bottom. And it wrinkles a little bit. See how it kind of wrinkles? But this is all under the cup, so it doesn't really matter. As long as it's smooth around the top part. And then I usually, just for extra reinforcement, tape the bottom down a little bit. When my tape wants to work with me. And this might be overkill, but it's what's worked for me. And if it's working, I'm not changing it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Okay. And that's it. Now I'm going to turn this on so we can heat up. And butcher paper. You always want to put butcher paper around it, obviously, because your image is going to bleed through here and you don't want it getting on the inside of your mug press. So we're going to pull it tight and roll her up. Now the blue tape I use for this part. I use the yellow tape for the original part. And I tried making a tumbler, my second one actually. I wrapped it the same way that I just showed you, but using the blue tape, and I got horrible ghosting. So I feel like the blue tape doesn't get as tight as the yellow tape can. It's not as stretchy, so you can't pull it as tight around the cup, and it just doesn't work as well. Now I trim the excess off here. she's wrapped nice and tight, and I bought these silicone mats off of Amazon. They come in a 3-pack. It's like gray and white and black. And I just trimmed it down to the size of a cup. Tumbler, whatever you want to call it. And I wrap this the same way I did with the butcher paper. Just nice and tight. And then I use blue tape for this one also. And this is what it looks like. Now, you just need to wait for this to heat up. And you definitely want to use some heat resistant gloves. I got these off Amazon. I can't remember how much they were, maybe $6 or $7. I can't remember. But those fuckers are hot when they come out there. So do not try to do this barehanded or with, you know, little thin mittens or something. You need some good something, because that shit's hot and you will burn yourself. So I put it in 4 sections, and I remember how I line it up with the seam. So I go bottom first, and this goes until it has a bunch of lights and a little timer, and it beeps when it's done. So I let that run a full cycle, and then when that's done, I turn it 180 degrees. So the seam's going to go on the exact opposite side, and I run it again. And this time I time it for 4 minutes. And then when that's done, I take it out, I flip it over. And when I do the bottom, there's a little plate in here. And you don't want it to sink down. So I stick this stainless steel metal, whatever it is, straw in there to prop it up, so it doesn't sink down in there. And same process. I push this in, I let all the lights go all the way across until it's totally done. When that's done, I flip it 180 degrees. Oh, she's done. 4 minutes, and then she's done. So, bottom first. And I do have a little piece of butcher paper on top of that metal plate in there, because I don't want it to burn the bottom of my cup. So here she goes. I don't know if you guys can see that flashing. I don't even know how to zoom in on this thing. But see how the 2 are lit up and the 3rd one is blinking? I'm sure if you have one, you already know how it looks. Okay, so all 5 lit up and it just beeped. So it's time to turn it. So we lift that up. I usually put the smoke out the window. Turn it 180 degrees. Push it back down. And sometimes the lights will go again, but most of the time it doesn't. So I just time out 4 minutes. So it's 5:36. So at 5:40, I'm going to flip the cup. Okay, so it's time to flip the cup. I'm gonna open the window so I can blow the smoke out, but I'm not gonna say anything because I live in apartments and I don't want the lady below me to hear me talking with the window open and think that I need a psychological evaluation, medication, talking to myself, something. So I'm gonna be quiet while I do this part, but I'm basically just gonna flip the cup and do the whole process over again. Okay, now we're gonna let the timer do its thing. When it beeps, we're gonna turn it 180 degrees again and do the last 4 minutes. Okay, she beeped, so we're gonna flip her. Turn her, not flip her. Okay, last 4 minutes and then we'll be done and we'll see how she turned out. Okay, so we have about 45 seconds left until this is done. And normally I would have my window open the whole time I'm doing this so that all the fumes can be going out. But again, I don't want my neighbors to hear me talking because normally I'm by myself. And so it's quiet, I'm not talking, I'm usually just playing music and crafting. But since I'm talking, I have the window shut since my neighbor's home and her door is right below my window and she leaves it open all the time. So I know she could hear me and that's awkward. Okay, time's up. Let's see how she turned out. And this is hot, super hot. Like, even with these gloves on, it's burning the shit out of me. Okay, and I have a little razor blade that I use. Just kind of makes things easier when you're trying to take off the tape and butcher paper and everything. Just gonna throw that on the ground. And I use this little weeding tool. Fuck, that's hot. To pull this out. And this is like the annoying part, but it's also like the fun part because it's exciting to see if your cup turned out good. And I don't know why I keep calling it a she. We'll call it a she if it turns out perfect. If there's ghosting, we'll call it a he. Because those fuckers are good at that, right? Mom joke. Okay. it's a she. So cute. No ghosting. Can hardly even see the seam. Super cute. And that's it. Usually, sometimes the paper will stick a little bit. So I usually just run it under cold water as soon as I take everything off, just to get like the little pieces of paper off of there or whatever. But that's it, guys. Hopefully this wasn't too painfully awkward as my very first video, and I hope it was helpful. All right, guys, bye.